Hello, this is a disinformation in the digital age and how it spreads and gains influence, with the presenters being Daniel, Abdullahi, Dow, and Desmond of Cyber Operation Class of the spring 2026 semester. So, my section focuses on how disinformation campaigns are actually designed to appear credible in the first place, and I think this is really the foundation of the whole topic because before any false information can spread, it has to be believable enough for people to accept it and share it. The key distinction here is that disinformation is not accidental. Unlike misinformation, which can spread just because someone made an honest mistake, disinformation is deliberately engineered to deceive a specific audience, and it does that through three layers. On the surface, it mimics trusted media. Psychologically, it exploits how our brains process information. And technologically, AI has made fabrication easier than ever, and I'll walk through each of these three layers. The first tactic is source mimicry, making fake content look like real news. Disinformation sites will copy the exact color schemes, fonts, and headlines formats of legitimate outlets. Social media accounts are set up with usernames that closely resemble real institutions, and a lot of these sites will include satirical disclaimers very deep in their terms of service. So, technically, on paper, they're covered, but nobody ever reads that far. The key insight here is that most people extend trust based on appearance alone, meaning they don't verify. Research done by Apuk and Omar in 2023 found that fake news sites use design templates nearly identical to legitimate media, making it almost impossible for a casual reader to tell the difference just by looking at it. The second tactic is what researchers Freeland and Wells call an evidence collage. The idea is pretty straightforward. You take a bunch of screenshots, photos, or videos and combine them into one single image. Each item looks like its own independent piece of evidence, all pointing to the same conclusion. What makes it effective is that any context that would debunk or complicate the narrative gets stripped away. You only see what supports the false claim, and on top of that, images carry a natural credibility. People assume photos or videos are real records of reality, especially in the age where AI forgery, AI generative AI makes images, videos look so lifelike. Real videos, people that can tell real videos apart, often assume with a hint of natural credibility that's attached to them. So when you combine multiple visuals together, it creates this illusion of overwhelming tangible proof, and it lowers the bar for people to just accept the narrative without actually questioning it. The third tactic is psychological targeting, which relies on something called the confirmation bias, the tendency people have to believe information that already matches what they think is true, regardless of whether it's actually accurate. Campaigns use personal data collected from social media platforms to identify who exactly is most likely to believe a particularly false narrative and target them directly. There's also something called motivated reasoning, where people don't just believe confirming information, they actively reject anything that contradicts it. So even when fact checkers push back on disinformation content, it often doesn't work because the false belief is already anchored. Finally, AI has completely changed the scale of this. In the last 2 years, deepfake forgery cases have increased fivefold, according to a paper done in 2025. We're talking about fully AI generated social media personas with fake photos, post histories, even voice synthesis for fabricated audios in the videos. So, to wrap up my section, credibility engineering is really the prerequisite for everything else. Without it, disinformation can spread. And with that, I'll hand it off to my teammate who will talk about this content, how this content actually moves through dedicated digital platforms once it's been created.
Disinformation spreads so effectively today because of how digital platforms are designed. Social media and messaging apps make it really easy for anyone to share information with large audiences quickly and at almost no cost. Platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and WhatsApp are built around sharing and engagement. So the more something is liked or shared, the more people it reaches. Because of that, disinformation doesn't just randomly spread online. There are specific factors that drive it, including how content is distributed, how platforms amplify it, and how users interact with it. So now let's talk about distribution through digital platforms. The first major reason disinformation spreads so effectively is distribution. Digital platforms make it extremely easy to share information with large audiences in a very short amount of time. Social media sites like TikTok, X, Facebook, and Instagram allow content to reach thousands or even millions of people almost instantly. In many cases, content does not stay on one platform. It gets reposted, screenshotted, and shared across multiple platforms, which increases its reach even more. A good example of this was during the early stages of the Russia-Ukraine war, where related content on TikTok generated billions of views in a short period of time. This shows how quickly both accurate and misleading information can spread online. Nah. So distribution explains how content reaches platforms, but amplification explains how it becomes widespread. Most major social media platforms use recommendation algorithms that decide what users see. These systems analyze engagement metrics such as likes, shares, comments, and watch time to determine what content is most likely to keep users active on the platform. Because of this, emotionally charged or controversial posts often perform better than factual but less exciting information. In many cases, visibility online is driven more by engagement than by accuracy. This creates an environment where disinformation can spread rapidly because it is designed to attract attention and interaction, not necessarily to deliver truthful information. Diving deeper into the amplification aspect, TikTok is a strong example of platform driven amplification. Its For You page recommends content based on user behavior, meaning users often are shown content they did not search for. However, what makes TikTok especially unique is the role of reusable sounds and audio clips. Popular sounds can be reused across thousands of videos, allowing messages and narratives to spread quickly through trends and memes, imitations tied to those sounds. During the early stages of the Russia-Ukraine war, researchers found that new users were exposed to disinformation related to the content or to the conflict within about 40 minutes of joining the platform. This shows how recommendation systems and platform features can combine to rapidly amplify misleading narratives. In addition to recommendation algorithms, disinformation is often amplified through coordinated manipulation. One common method is the use of social bots, which are automated accounts that can post content, share messages, and interact with its users at scale. These bots are often designed to mimic real users, making them harder to identify. By coordinating large numbers of fake accounts, malicious actors can artificially increase likes, comments, and shares, creating the appearance that certain content is popular or widely accepted. This can influence real users to trust or engage with misleading narratives. Similar tactics have been observed in political elections, international conflicts, and broader influence operations. While algorithms and bots play a major role in spreading disinformation, human behavior is equally important. Many users share content without fully verifying whether it is accurate, especially when it comes from people they trust, such as friends, family members, or influencers. Repeated exposure to the same claims can also make false information seem more believable over time. Social media can further reinforce this through echo chambers, where users are mostly exposed to viewpoints similar to their own. In many cases, even a small trend can quickly become viral when enough users continue sharing it. This shows that the spread of disinformation is not only a technology problem, but also a human behavior problem. When we combine platform design, algorithms, coordinated campaigns, and user behavior, we can better understand why disinformation spreads so effectively online. These same mechanisms are what create the real-world risks and impacts that the next section will cover.
Hello everyone, this is Dong Nguyen and I will be discussing the risk and impact of disinformation campaigns that are spread on social media. As discussed so far, disinformation campaigns are the intent to spread false information in order to deceive others. Disinformation campaigns are not just some online noise. These pose a series of risks that can have an impact on real-world events. To first understand the risks and impacts of disinformation campaigns, we must first take a look at the potential motivations or reasons an actor may have for utilizing these campaigns. There are various reasons as to why an actor may utilize social media to spread disinformation campaigns. The motivations behind each of these acts include, but are not limited to, having an influence or manipulating certain opinions, views, or beliefs of an individual or a group of individuals. This can be something like reinforcing someone's ideas or beliefs or making someone question their own ideas and beliefs. Actors may also utilize disinformation campaigns to create confusion and distractions, raising concerns about certain topics or issues, evoking emotions which can include fear or potentially violence, and other reasons which may include political, global, or health reasons. These are just some of the many different potential motivations that an actor may have behind their disinformation campaigns and spreading on social media. These can contribute to several other things, such as echo chambers and polarization. With actors creating and propagating disinformation campaigns on social media, it can result in something known as an echo chamber. Echo chambers are essentially an environment where individuals are often met with beliefs, opinion, views, or ideas that align with their own. Social media can contribute to echo chambers through their use of their algorithms, certain platforms and their ability to personalize feeds for their users, the ability to create or join groups, creating group chats, and much more. All of these components allow for users to be able to interact with content that aligns with their views and be continuously met with posts, comments, interactions, and other things. This can help in creating a sense of community for users. However, it also has the potential in creating further biases and the potential for extreme biases. This can then further lead to something known as polarization. Polarization is the idea or concept of the division in society between two opposing views and the distance between the two views. Social media has the potential to play a significant role in polarization. In some scenarios, social media platforms can be a place where users can interact and communicate with other users who have the same ideas, views, and beliefs. It can also be a platform where two opposing views can have a civil discussion with one another and potentially discover solutions to certain topics, ideas, or issues. This can help them to find a balanced solution that both benefits and satisfy the different views or parties. Social media can also lead to an increase in polarization, which can result in extreme polarization. Extreme polarization can create a larger divide between the two opposing views and furthers the distance between the two. This can result in a series of hardships, such as maintaining a good and balanced relationship between the two views, disrupting civil conversations between two opposing ideas, disrupting processes for finding a balanced and well-fitted solution, and much more. Some examples include having a slower response to global and state issues and concerns, slower responses to pandemics, impeded advancement of society, and more. With social media, it can amplify the effectiveness of disinformation campaigns using the techniques, methods, and motivations that were previously discussed. In the following slides, I will be providing some examples of potential impacts as well as impacts on real-world events. In addition to influencing opinions, other impacts include influencing behaviors and choices. With the increased amount of social media usage, disinformation campaigns are spread during the times of elections. It is likely that many of the disinformation campaigns that are created and spread during elections are done so in hopes to influence the results of the elections in some way. Following the 2016 and 2020 election, there were several third-party fact-checkers and websites that were introduced and emphasized in hopes to combat the spread of disinformation campaigns. However, it was not enough to stop or prevent the spread. This resulted in an increase of polarization. As discussed earlier, there are several different consequences for the increase of polarization and extreme polarization. These consequences can be seen during Joe Biden's certification in January 2021. It resulted in a series of deaths, injuries, and damages to public property, as well as damage to trust. One impact of disinformation campaigns on social media is influencing or manipulating others' opinions. One case is creating or increasing people's distrust in public institutions. This includes the judiciary system, law enforcement, as well as health institutions. These public institutions play a significant role in trying to improve the overall betterment and health of society. Disinformation campaigns can provide false information or false narratives to deceive others to undermine the role and value that these institutions have in society. Even if they don't believe it, they are exposed to the potential idea. This can result them looking for other alternative information from other sources rather than the institutions themselves. One specific case that we can look at is COVID-19. Hospitals and research organizations were also affected by disinformation campaigns. There were several different posts and also a documentary that was released that caused a lot of chaos, confusion, and distrust. It was seen in a study that there was an increase in engagement and interactions with posts that relate to anti-vaccination. In addition, there are also signs that show the decrease in the willingness of some people to follow the rules and regulations put out by health institutions regarding COVID-19. This is the wearing of masks, keeping our distance, and vaccinations. The rise of social media and its popularity and accessibility has allowed for actors to utilize these platforms to strategically craft and spread disinformation campaigns. This section highlights the risks and impacts of this cyber threat and the need to address and discover solutions for disinformation campaigns.
In this section, I'll be covering the three core strategies used to fight disinformation, which are public awareness, detection, and mitigation. My teammates covered how disinformation spreads and the damages it causes. Now, we look at what we can do about it. Starting with awareness. Awareness is the foundation. So without it, every other defense becomes harder. Most people who share false content aren't doing it intentionally. They usually react to something emotional. This can be outrage, fear, shock, and they share disinformation without thinking or before thinking. That reaction is usually by design. Disinformation is built to bypass critical thinking. The solution to this is, for one, media literacy, which is teaching people to recognize these tactics: emotional headlines, manipulated images, coordinated fake accounts. Once you know what you're looking for, you're significantly harder to manipulate. There's also a concept called accuracy nudge. This is simply asking, is this accurate before I share it? Dramatically reduces the spread of false content. One habit multiplied across millions of users makes a real difference. It is also worth knowing the three types of false content, which is misinformation. Misinformation is false but unintentional. Disinformation is false and deliberate, and malinformation is true information used to cause harm. Effective awareness has to be addressed in all three. Detection is about catching disinformation early, before it reaches critical mass. What are we detecting? Bot accounts that post and share automatically to inflate popularity. Fake profiles designed to look real. Coordinated campaigns where hundreds of accounts push the same message simultaneously, and usually spikes in engagement that don't match organic growth. The timing problem is critical. By the time real users start sharing false content, it already has momentum. It's already in thousands of feeds. Correcting it at that point is an uphill battle, and researchers show that people often still repeat the false version even after the correction. That's why catching it early matters. There is a short window between when bots amplify content and when humans start sharing it organically. That window is the best opportunity to intervene. So once disinformation is identified, mitigation is what we do next. Platforms can label disputed content, remove fake accounts, and reduce how often algorithms push low credibility posts to users. The last one matters because the algorithm is often what gave the content reach in the first place, but no single tool is enough. Effective mitigation requires platforms, government policy, fact checkers, and public education all working together. When any one of those is missing, disinformation finds the gap. Education is also a long-term mitigation strategy. People with stronger critical thinking skills are significantly less susceptible to false claims, whether health information or political manipulation. That takes time, but it compounds. And the key point, disinformation is a social and behavioral problem, not just a technical one. Technology can detect it and suppress it, but it cannot change trust culture or human behavior. Those require human solutions. And finally, to bring this all together, Awareness reduces who can be manipulated. Detection catches campaigns before they go viral. Mitigation limits the damage once they're identified. These aren't three separate strategies. They're three layers of the same defense, and they work only when used together. Remove one, and the other weakens significantly. Disinformation actors keep evolving, so must our defenses. This is not a problem we solve once. It requires ongoing efforts across technology, policy, and education.
Here are the references for our slides, and thank you all so much for taking the time to watch our presentation on disinformation campaigns on social media.